Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. Now, you may have seen these images before, but in a slightly different way. So we are going to be able to create our own stamps using dies, which is really fun. So to start with, I am going to be using the bold alphabet die set, and this one is the lowercase one, and I'm just going to take the letters out of here for the word hello. So I'm going to need the H, the O, the L, and also the E. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out of foam. So this is quite thick foam. Now the cutting mat that I am cutting into is quite beat up, and I don't want this to kind of transfer to that foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cardstock and I'm going to lay the foam on top. Now the cardstock is going to kind of take the impression of the beat up cutting mat, and then the foam is going to be nice and flat because you don't want that going into transfer into that. So once I've done that, I'm then going to run that through my die cutting machine, and you can see that we have all of these wonderful little felt letters that we can then use as stamps. I'm then going to use the Crafter Flower Daisy, and I'm just going to cut one of the daisy images and also the flower clusters. So I have all of these images cut from foam as well. Now to attach these onto my block, I've just used my trusty Altenew tape pen, and that is going to keep them nicely in place while I ink these up. So for these first solid layers of these daisies, I'm going to use the Buttercream ink. So I'm just going to stamp the first one into position just to get it right in place. Now you may need to give this a bit of a squidge for that ink to transfer properly onto your card base. So for the leaves, I'm just going to ink again, add them onto my little acrylic block using some Altenew tape glue, and I'm going to use the Firefly ink. Now I am using, I'm working onto a panel of white cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I did end up trimming this down at the end. So I'm then going to stamp another of those solid images that we've just stamped before, again using the same Buttercream ink. And then I can then finish the composition of these wonderful flowers using some more of those leaves using the Firefly ink as well. So I'm just going to stamp 3 of these so I do have my odd numbers when I add my flowers and leaves together. Now the second layer of this little daisy comes in 2 pieces. So what I found was easiest to keep these in the right position is to keep them in the foam when you do die cut them, then add your little bit of glue to the back of them, and then attach them to the block in one piece, then gently remove the excess foam, and that's going to mean that this is in a perfect position to do your stamping with. I'm then going to take the Sunray, so this is a slightly darker, maybe a little more orangey shade of yellow, and I'm just going to stamp this into position. Now I didn't get these perfectly lined up, but you can spend a little bit of extra time to do this, but I did think it works out perfect anyway. So even if you do stamp these slightly off, they are going to look fabulous. I'm then going to take the leaves. Now I've done the same technique as before to keep everything in place, of keeping that into the excess foam, then adding the glue, then removing the excess. For this layer, I'm going to be using the Grass Field ink, and these do stamp perfectly onto these leaves. I just have to say, I really do love this technique, and I think that you'll be looking at all of your dies in a slightly different way after this video. Just think of all of those dies that you have that you can now make into your very own DIY stamps. So once I've finished stamping the leaves, I'm then going to move on to the flower centers. So for the base of the flower centers, I'm going to be using the Snapdragon ink. So I'm just going to stamp those into the center there. And I'm then going to use the Marigold for the detail on this little centerpiece too. So once that's done, I have finished all my stamping, but I did make a little bit of a mistake. But I am going to try and cover this up using my sentiment. So to get my sentiment nice and straight, I'm just going to add a little bit of washi tape at the bottom so I can use this as a guide. I'm then going to be using my Obsidian ink to stamp these up. Now I'm going to stamp the outside letters first so I can then get the placement of the ones that are in the middle nicely. Now what I am doing with these, because I'm using such a dark ink, I am getting rid of any ink that's on the acrylic block before stamping this down. As I made that mistake before with the orange, I did not want to do it again with the black. So that's why I'm making sure that I get rid of all of that excess ink off that little acrylic block before I do stamp them down. Once I have my sentiment all nicely stamped, I can then remove that washi tape. I did cut the panel down a little bit to 4 by 5 1/4, as I wanted a pop of yellow behind that stamped piece that we have. I'm going to add that onto a card base, which I've added some of the beautiful warm Sunshine Cardstock to, and then a little piece of foam to keep my panel nice and straight when this is posted. So here is the card complete. I really do hope that you like the card and that you've enjoyed the video and that you like the technique too. This is a great way to stretch your supplies using your very own DIY stamps made from die cuts. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.